The global financial system may be entering its biggest stress test in decades. As Washington works to prevent allies from reducing their exposure to the US dollar, Canada is quietly expanding energy exports and strengthening trade ties beyond the American market. Meanwhile, China continues building financial networks designed to reduce reliance on US-led systems. Why should vehicle enthusiasts care? Because these shifts could affect fuel prices, supply chains, manufacturing costs, and the future of the automotive industry itself. Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. Here are the 4 major developments reshaping the global economy and the vehicles we drive. Number 4. Auto Industry Alert. Global shakeup changes everything. At first glance, oil markets, currencies, and geopolitical alliances may seem unrelated to vehicles. In reality, they directly influence automakers, suppliers, dealerships, and consumers. Modern trucks, SUVs, hybrids, and EVs rely on global networks involving energy prices, shipping routes, semiconductors, raw materials, and international trade. When oil prices rise, manufacturing and transportation costs increase. When trade tensions escalate, automakers face tariffs, supply disruptions, and production delays. This matters even more as the industry undergoes one of its most expensive transitions ever. Automakers are investing billions into EVs, batteries, software, and advanced manufacturing while maintaining traditional vehicle production. Canada's oil, nickel, lithium, aluminum, and critical minerals are becoming increasingly important, while China continues dominating battery supply chains. The result is an industry shaped as much by economics and geopolitics as engineering. Today's automotive market may be one of the clearest indicators of where the global economy is heading next. But if the automotive industry is being reshaped by global forces, one country may be benefiting from those changes more than many expected. Number 3. Canada breaks free. Trade boom accelerates. While headlines focused on Middle Eastern tensions and US-China competition, Canada quietly delivered one of the biggest trade stories in North America. For decades, roughly 3/4 of Canadian exports flowed to the United States, creating deep economic dependence. Today, that pattern is beginning to change. Canada recently posted a stronger-than-expected trade surplus, driven by rising energy exports, stronger commodity prices, and expanding trade relationships beyond the US. More importantly, the share of exports destined for America fell to a record low, signaling growing diversification. Energy infrastructure is helping drive this shift. The Trans Mountain expansion and new LNG export facilities are opening greater access to Asian markets. Meanwhile, Canadian aluminum, gold, nickel, and critical minerals are attracting increased demand from Europe and beyond. For the automotive industry, these resources are becoming increasingly strategic. As electrification accelerates, Canada's growing role as a supplier of energy and critical materials appears increasingly permanent rather than temporary. But Canada isn't the only country repositioning itself. While Ottawa expands trade relationships, Beijing has spent years building an entirely different financial architecture. Number 2. China builds rival network. Dollar threat grows. While Washington works to protect the dollar's dominance, China has spent years building alternative financial systems designed to reduce reliance on US-based networks. What once seemed like a long-term strategy is increasingly becoming reality. UN-clearing banks now operate across major financial centers including Dubai, London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Switzerland. Energy and commodity transactions that traditionally relied on dollars are gradually incorporating UN-based settlements. China isn't trying to replace the dollar overnight. Instead, it is creating parallel systems that give countries additional options. This shift matters greatly for the automotive industry. Modern vehicle production depends on globally traded resources such as lithium, nickel, copper, rare earth minerals, semiconductors, and oil. As trade patterns evolve, automakers are adjusting supply chains and sourcing strategies. Increasingly, success depends not only on building great vehicles, but also on controlling resources, logistics, and critical supply networks. Before we reveal the number 1 development, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support helps us continue bringing you vehicle updates, industry analysis, and automotive insights from around the world. Because while China's rise is important, the biggest question remains: Why are so many countries suddenly looking for alternatives in the first place? Number 1. Petrodollar under fire. Allies' eye exit. For more than 50 years, the US dollar has dominated global trade because oil transactions were largely conducted in dollars. This petrodollar system helped create constant demand for American currency and strengthened US financial influence worldwide. Today, however, that foundation appears to be facing growing pressure. Tensions in the Middle East, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz, have raised concerns among Gulf nations about relying too heavily on Washington. Reports that the UAE could consider pricing some oil transactions in Chinese yuan intensified speculation that alternatives to the dollar are gaining traction. The stakes are significant. Gulf nations collectively hold more than $2 trillion in U.S. assets, and any meaningful shift could impact financial markets. For the automotive industry, currency instability affects everything from fuel and shipping costs to battery materials and vehicle pricing. The global financial landscape is changing, and automakers are watching closely. And when you combine pressure on the petrodollar, China's expanding financial influence, and Canada's growing trade independence, a much bigger picture begins to emerge. Verdict: New global order. Auto industry enters unknown. The global economy is entering a period of profound change, and the automotive industry sits directly at the center of it. The long-standing dominance of the petrodollar system is facing new challenges. China continues expanding alternative financial networks, and Canada is emerging as an increasingly important supplier of energy and critical industrial resources. For automakers, these shifts go far beyond politics. They influence manufacturing costs, battery supply chains, vehicle affordability, investment decisions, and future product development. The industry is no longer driven solely by horsepower figures, towing capacity, or battery range. Increasingly, it is being shaped by trade policy, resource security, geopolitical alliances, and economic influence. The companies that successfully adapt to this changing environment could gain major advantages over the next decade, while those that fail to adjust may struggle to remain competitive. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Do you think the US dollar will remain dominant in global trade over the next decade? Could Canada become one of the most important resource suppliers for the future automotive industry? Which factor will have the biggest impact on future vehicle prices, energy costs, supply chains, or geopolitics? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We always enjoy hearing perspectives from fellow enthusiasts. If you enjoyed this analysis, be sure to subscribe to Highway Herald and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next vehicle update, industry deep dive, and automotive news report. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.